In the news today by Lynn and Dave. Dave asked AI Grok, what can the Baltic countries do to defend themselves? From an attack and invasion from Russia. The Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, face a complex security environment due to their geographic proximity to Russia and their history as former Soviet republics. Defending against a potential Russian attack or invasion requires a multi-layered strategy that leverages military, diplomatic, economic, and societal strengths. Here are some key approaches they could adopt. Number 1. Strengthen NATO integration and collective defense. The Baltics are NATO members, and their primary defense relies on the alliance's collective defense principle, Article 5. To maximize this, push for a larger permanent NATO troop presence, including multinational battle groups like those already stationed under the Enhanced Forward Presence, EFP. Advocate for pre-positioned equipment air defense systems, for example, Patriot batteries, and regular NATO exercises to deter aggression. Enhance interoperability with NATO forces through joint training and standardized equipment. Number 2. Boost national military capabilities. While small in population and resources, the Baltics can focus on asymmetric and high-impact defenses. Invest in mobile anti-tank weapons, for example, Javelin missiles, and drones to counter armored advances. Develop robust air and missile defense systems to protect critical infrastructure. Expand cyber defenses given Russia's history of hybrid warfare, for example, the 2007 Estonia cyber attacks. Increase defense budgets beyond the NATO 2% GDP minimum. Latvia and Estonia already exceed this, and Lithuania is close. Number 3. Fortify territorial defense and resilience. Leverage their terrain, forests, swamps, and narrow corridors for guerrilla-style resistance, training territorial defense forces like Estonia's Defense League or Latvia's National Guard. Stockpile fuel, food, and medical supplies to sustain civilian and military efforts during a conflict. Harden infrastructure, for example, bridges, power grids, against sabotage or bombing. Number 4. Counter hybrid threats. Russia often employs non-conventional tactics like disinformation, economic pressure, and proxy forces. Build strong counterintelligence to identify and neutralize Russian agents or influence operations. Enhance media literacy and public communication to combat propaganda, especially among Russian-speaking minorities. Secure energy independence by diversifying suppliers and reducing reliance on Russian gas or oil. Number 5. Deepen regional cooperation. Coordinate defense strategies with each other in Nordic countries, for example, Finland and Sweden, now NATO members, for a unified Baltic Sea response. Share intelligence and resources to monitor Russian military movements, particularly in Kaliningrad and Belarus. Number 6. Engage the population. Promote national unity and resilience through mandatory military service, as in Estonia, or voluntary programs. Educate citizens on civil defense, evacuation routes, and survival tactics to maintain morale and functionality under attack. Number 7. Diplomatic and economic pressure. Lobby for harsher sanctions on Russia from the EU and NATO allies to weaken its economy and military capacity over time. Strengthen ties with the U.S. for bilateral support, including advanced weaponry and training. In practice, the Baltics' small size and limited manpower mean they cannot win a conventional war alone against Russia. Their strategy hinges on deterrence, making an invasion too costly for Russia through NATO's backing, and delaying tactics until Allied reinforcements arrive. Recent examples, like Russia's struggles in Ukraine, suggest that determined resistance combined with international support can significantly complicate an aggressor's plans. Dave asks, which of the above suggestions are being pursued and how far? What lessons from previous wars can be used here, and what futuristic technology could flip the script so the Baltics could win a war with Russia? Grok replied, let's break this down into 3 parts. What strategies the Baltic countries are currently pursuing from the suggestions, relevant lessons from previous wars, and futuristic technologies that could potentially shift the balance in their favor against Russia. Current strategies being pursued. Based on available information and recent developments up to March 19, 2025, here's how the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, are implementing some of the suggested defense strategies. Number 1. Strengthening NATO integration and collective defense. Progress. The Baltics have actively pushed for and received enhanced NATO presence. Since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, NATO's enhanced forward presence, battle groups in the region have grown from battalion-sized around 1,000 troops to brigade-sized up to 5,000 troops in some cases. Lithuania, for instance, hosts a German-led brigade, though full deployment has been slower than desired, targeted for 2027. Estonia and Latvia also host multinational forces from the UK and Canada, respectively. NATO's 2023 Vilnius summit approved regional defense plans shifting from deterrence by punishment to deterrence by denial, aiming to prevent any Russian occupation outright. Extent. Exercises like Steadfast Defender 2024 and regular Baltic Sea patrols show commitment, but gaps remain. Reinforcement timelines are still too slow compared to Russia's potential speed of attack. For example, R8ND war games suggest Russian forces could reach Baltic capitals in 60 hours. Number 2, boosting national military capabilities. Progress. All three countries exceed NATO's 2% GDP defense spending target, with plans to reach 3% by 2027. Estonia has acquired Israeli Blue Spear anti-ship missiles to control the Gulf of Finland alongside Finland, while Latvia has ordered naval strike missiles for coastal defense. Deliveries post-2025. Lithuania is investing in HIMARS rocket systems and air defense. Cyber capabilities are also advancing, with Estonia's NATO Cyber Defense Center of Excellence leading efforts post its 2007 cyber attack experience. Extent. Focuses on asymmetric tools, drones, anti-tank weapons like javelins, but naval and air forces remain limited due to cost and manpower constraints. Number 3. Fortifying territorial defense and resilience. Progress. Estonia's Defense League and Latvia's National Guard are expanding, leveraging local terrain knowledge for potential guerrilla resistance. Latvia's 2023 National Defense Concept emphasizes border fortification, including anti-mobility measures against hybrid threats like migrant surges from Belarus. All three stockpile essentials, though specifics are less public. Extent. Territorial defense is robust in concept, but rapid mobilization challenges persist due to small populations, combined approximately 6 million. Number 4. Countering hybrid threats. Progress. The Baltics are regional leaders here. Estonia's cyber resilience, Latvia's NATO Strategic Communications Center, and Lithuania's energy security efforts, for example, reducing Russian gas reliance via LNG terminals, are notable. Media literacy programs target disinformation, especially among Russian-speaking minorities. Extent. Effective against current hybrid tactics, but evolving threats, for example, deepfakes, infrastructure sabotage, require constant adaptation. Number 5. Deepening regional cooperation. Progress. Finland and Sweden's NATO accession 2023 to 2024 has turned the Baltic Sea into a near-NATO lake, enhancing coordination. Joint exercises and intelligence sharing with Poland and Nordic states are routine. Extent. Strong, though maritime capabilities lag behind Russia's Kaliningrad-based fleet. Number 6. And by the way, folks, if you look at that strategic geographic location, Kaliningrad, you may find that quite interesting also. Number 6. Engaging the population. Progress. Estonia's mandatory conscription and Latvia reinstated draft 2023 boost readiness. Lithuania relies on volunteers but has high public support for defense. For example, 61% are willing to resist peacefully, 53% armed per 2022 polls. Extent. Societal resolve is high, but total manpower is a limiting factor. Number 7. Diplomatic and economic pressure. Progress. The Baltics lead EU/NATO calls for sanctions on Russia and military aid to Ukraine, influencing broader Western policy. Extent. Effective diplomatically, but economic leverage is limited by their size. Lessons from previous wars. Historical and recent conflicts offer valuable insights for the Baltics. Number 1. Winter War, 1939-40, Finland versus Soviet Union. Lesson. Small forces can delay a larger enemy using terrain, forests, swamps, and asymmetric tactics, for example, ski troops, Molotov cocktails. Finland's resilience forced a costly Soviet victory, buying time for diplomacy. Application. The Baltic similar terrain could support guerrilla resistance, delaying Russian advances until NATO arrives. Mines and mobile units could replicate Finland's success. Number 2. Russo-Georgian War 2008. Lesson. Russia exploits speed and hybrid tactics, for example, cyber attacks, proxies, to create fait accompli. Georgia's lack of prepared defenses and allies allowed a quick Russian win. Application. Preemptive fortification, for example, Latvia's border plans and NATO's forward presence are critical to avoid a similar rapid overrun. Number 3. Ukraine War 2014 to present. Lesson. Determined resistance, Western aid and drones can bog down a superior force. Ukraine's use of javelins, Bayraktar, TB2s, and civilian resilience exposed Russian weaknesses, logistics, morale, hybrid threats, disinformation, energy coercion must be countered early. Application. The Baltics are adopting Ukraine's drone focus and societal mobilization, while NATO's pre-positioned equipment mirrors Ukraine's aid model. Number 4. Afghanistan 2001 to 2021 NATO versus Taliban. Lesson. Insurgencies thrive with local support and terrain knowledge, frustrating conventional forces. Application. Baltic territorial forces could wage a prolonged insurgency if occupied, leveraging NATO support to outlast Russia. Futuristic technologies to flip the script. To shift from defense to decisively winning against Russia, the Baltics could leverage emerging technologies, though resource constraints mean NATO backing is essential. Number 1. Autonomous drone swarms. Potential. Cheap, AI-driven drones could overwhelm Russian armor and air defenses targeting Kaliningrad and supply lines. Ukraine's success with FPV drones hints at this. Impact. A swarm-based area denial strategy could neutralize Russia's numerical edge, especially if scaled via NATO production. Number 2. Directed energy weapons, lasers. Potential. Ground or sea-based lasers could counter Russian missiles and drones, protecting key cities and infrastructure. Prototypes exist. For example, U.S. Navy's Helios, Helios. Impact. Affordable air defense could blunt Russia's initial strike, giving NATO time to reinforce. Number 3. Quantum communications and sensing. Potential. Unhackable comms and ultra-precise detection could thwart Russian cyber attacks and stealth incursions. Estonia's cyber expertise could lead development. Impact. Superior situational awareness might deter Russia by exposing its moves early. Number 4. Hypersonic weapons. Potential. Small numbers of hypersonic missiles, for example, U.S. Dark Eagle, could strike Russian command centers in minutes, disrupting any invasion. Impact. A credible offensive threat could force Russia into a defensive posture, though costs are prohibitive without NATO. Number 5. AI-driven cyber offense. Potential. AI could launch preemptive cyber attacks on Russian grids, logistics, or propaganda networks, sowing chaos. Impact. Disrupting Russia's hybrid playbook could delay or deter an attack, flipping the script from reactive to proactive. Conclusion. The Baltics are actively pursuing NATO integration, national capability boosts, and hybrid threat countermeasures with significant progress since 2022, though gaps in speed and scale persist. Lessons from Ukraine and Finland highlight the power of resilience and asymmetry already informing Baltic plans. Futuristic tech like drone swarms or lasers could tip the scales, but winning outright against Russia would require NATO's full commitment, turning Baltic defense into a theater-wide victory. The current focus remains on deterrence and delay, with futuristic flips still aspirational given resource realities. Join us next time on In the News Today.